Hello, it is Mike Matthews. Recently, my lovely lady friend and I went to a really cool place on the San Joaquin River in Antioch, Monica's Riverview. We were there on a very rainy day, which is my birthday. Every year is a rainy day on my birthday, it seems. But that's just what I guess I'm got a little vibe from Charlie Brown or something. I don't know. Didn't he always have a cloud over his head and it was raining? No, but we had a wonderful time on my birthday, and it was nice because then, you know, with all the rain, there's not so many people out and about, so we got to go to some cool places. But there's a picture of it at MikeSdaily.podcast.com, along with all the other past podcast pictures. This is the longest running self-produced daily podcast on the planet. And we got a lot of fascinating things to get to about what's going on in your world right now. So let's go into Café Anyway to see and hear all of that. Oh, but first I have to sing just a little bit of a song by Joan Osborne. Yes, the What If God Was One of Us gal, which is the worst song to be a sample of the kind of singing that she does. She sings just a, what if God... Her voice was very extensive, had an amazing range, and she is just an amazing performer. So a little bit of one of my favorite songs that did not get overplayed on the radio was this one. I'm gonna love you anyway, hey, today and every day. Today and every day. Café Anyway. Café Anyway is where we are.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
Somewhere in Podcastro Valley, the last place on earth in the land of Ameritopica. It is FF episode 2966, 2966.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
And this is not technically an episode. It's an episode. People will listen to this show, you know, and they are happy because Christmas is coming up soon, and they dance around and they look like a loon. But hey, maybe they were watching Moana too, because it was record-breaking.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
It was all feast and no famine at the Thanksgiving box office this year. Disney's Moana 2 and
Mike's
Universal's
Daily
Wicked,
Podcast,
as well as Paramount's Gladiator 2, pushed a 5-day Thanksgiving holiday to its biggest haul in cinematic history. Wow. Shock and awe. Moana 2 led the $221 million in domestic ticket sales. The top performance of a Thanksgiving weekend film ever. Hang on, I didn't do that right. Let's see. I think if I turn... Is it this button that I turn? Ever! That's the button. Let's see. Wicked 2 continued to soar. It made money. Gladiator 2 failed. Oh, wait. No, it came in at third. $44 million. Wicked was, let's see, more than double that at 117.5 million, and then Moana was double that at 221 million. The three movies pushed the 5-day Thanksgiving holiday to its biggest haul in cinematic history, an estimated $420 million, powered by a trio of films from the musical, the epic drama, and the family film genres.
And here's today's podcast picture.
And there's Moana 2 that had the singing. Wicked had the singing. So, hey, people like music. But then they also like violence. So they like the Gladiator 2. Moana 2 was only expected to make $100 million, but it made more than double. Wicked now stands at about $360 million worldwide after 10 days in theaters. Gladiator's not too far behind with $320 million globally, about $40 million less. Heading into this holiday period is just 6.4% behind 2023. But we're still behind 2023. What? By just a smidge. The late great Basil the Boxer, he didn't like smidges. He didn't like snitches because snitches get stitches and all that other rhyming craziness. How about Black Friday? They hit records, Black Friday and Cyber Monday. Santa's packing list will only get longer. People didn't just fill their plates this Thanksgiving weekend. Data shows they also filled their online shopping carts. I did shopping on both Black Friday and Cyber Monday. Oh, and what was it? Travel Tuesday? Travel Tuesday was also the Giving Tuesday, Travel Tuesday. Supposedly you could get good flight tickets, plane tickets on Tuesday. That was a lie. I saw nowhere did I see that. And I didn't see any deals on Black Friday or Cyber Monday. So I don't know what anybody was talking about. Maybe you were lucky. Maybe you had you had the monopoly on it. Because dang it, I sure didn't.
Is that why you're bald, Mike?
Yes. Yes, sir. Yes. Thank you for pointing out my baldness. Though you can't see it on today's video, which you can always find at my Facebook page. There's a link at mikesdailypodcast.com. And when you see, you'll also see a strange sign that keeps popping up on my head, asking a question. Answer that question if you would like. Ooh, speaking of which, we got a phone call. So we'll get to that a little bit later if I remember. But yeah, and I'll also have the phone number for you a little bit later. Or you can find it at mikesdailypodcast.com. So, Black Friday online shopping this year set an all-time high. It's more than double what was pulled in the year 2017. Consumers spent a record $6.1 billion online on Turkey Day. So they are actually spending money on Thanksgiving as well. Cyber Monday is the biggest shopping day of the year. Not Black Friday, which I that's why when Black Friday comes and goes, it's like, okay, who cares? Hey, the big shock is
danger, Will Robinson, danger.
Which is not a shock, but danger, don't go to the malls, they're too busy, which I accidentally did because I had a free burger from Red Robin, and the closest one to podCastro Valley is in a mall up in Concord. And I went there, and after I had the burger, I walked around the mall, and I went, wow, there's a lot of people. But I could still move around. I wasn't feeling claustrophobic, but I'm not really agoraphobic or any kind of phobic, so it didn't really matter. I'm certainly not anacrophobic. But whatever. Hey, let's see. Mobile screens. Online, people were shopping. That was about 55% of all shopping was on little mobile screens that are so small. And oops, I paid for what? I bought what for how much? That's not what I wanted. The screen is so small. Let's see. So Giving Tuesday is when people donate to nonprofits and other charitable organizations. Let's see. Last year they made...
good looking. We'll be back to pick you up later.
They made enough to make Mr. Microphone happy. No, Mr. Microphone's long gone. But I'm Mr. Mike. And Giving Tuesday last year, $3.12 billion in donations. So here's the other interesting thing. Is Twitter still got a lot of people on it. A lot of people on X. But Blue Sky is starting to take off. And that has to do with people that are not happy with Elon, not happy with Trump. As we go outside of Café Anyway, where we bring you Mike's Daily Podcast somewhere in podCastro Valley, where we bring you Mike's Daily Podcast in the land of Ameritopica. As you have probably noticed, there are some social media that try to program against other social media. And let's say, do you remember Parler? Parler was supposed to be the right-leaning...
Roller. Oh, wait.
Café Anyway.
Anyway.
The right-leaning Twitter. Back when Twitter was being run by people that like to cancel people all the time and say, hey, you can't say that on this platform. So then, of course, Elon Musk bought Twitter, bought X, called it X, and decided to let Trump back on. But Trump still gets more looks at his own website. So now he's got Truth Social, which was initially to go up against X and Facebook. But then Trump doesn't want the TikTok to go away because he wants Mark Zuckerberg to go through heck, even though Mark showed up at Mar-a-Lago. This was on Black Friday. So we'll see what ends up surviving. But Blue Sky is apparently doing well, and that is programming against the right wing now, what seems to be X, which is more right-leaning. But now Parler's gone because X became more right-leaning, so there was no need for Parler. There is still a Rumble, which is the more right-leaning YouTube. That seems to be there, and I go on there and I see a lot of videos that I don't watch. And I'm actually on there, but it's just like a 1 minute.
Mike is awesome.
It's just a 1 minute piece of the podcast. It's a piece of the podcast. It's a piece cast. A peace pod. Anyway, the guy, Café Anyway, we just heard, is where I got all those stories from. You can hear him on the radio on AM 1220 KDOW, weekday mornings, The Rob Black Show. And then he is on Cron TV Monday through Thursday in the 9 o'clock hour. So Blue Sky has now 20 million people. They supposedly got a huge chunk after Election Day. But X still has way more than that at 350 million. Oh, 1 million people is how many people got added on to Blue Sky after Election Day. And then, what was it? Was it Peru or Brazil or Argentina? I forget. Somewhere south of here, there was a country that actually got rid of X altogether. But then, and because it was something that Elon did, I forget, he didn't show up in court or he didn't do something. And anyway, Elon smoothed everything over, so now it's back. But when X was gone, Blue Sky got popular in that country. So what is Blue Sky? I don't know. I guess Mr. Blue Sky. It's a great song from Electric Light Orchestra. TechCrunch.com said, is the grass greener on the other side? They said, we're not sure, but if it's a trap. But the sky is most certainly bluer. It's been 2 years since Elon Musk purchased Twitter. Now X, leading people to set up shop on alternative platforms. Mastodon, Post, Pebble, two of which have already shuttered operations, and Spill have been presented as potential replacements, but few, aside from Meta's Threads. That's right. Meta's got Threads, which is supposedly a take on Twitter, have achieved the speed of growth that Blue Sky has reached, interestingly enough. Oh, somebody and I'm on Threads. I think it's one of the easiest ways to get to it is mikesdailypodcast.threads.com, or you can go through my Instagram. But here's the thing, is I saw somebody thread today, I don't like podcasts. I don't like listening to someone talk about topics that I'm not interested in. And then I clicked on that thread and I read the people's threads underneath it. People saying, hey, why don't you try listening? Some podcasts are very interesting. They can teach you stuff. And she said, if I want to learn something, I'll pick up a book. So there's that kind of resistance that podcasters are running into. Boring podcasts. Hey, is this one more?
Mike makes music.
I better make some music here. Hey, everybody, try to not use Blue Sky unless you want to cry. That's okay. I'm a guy named Mike. Blue Sky. I might start an account there. We'll see. But as of this month, Blue Sky has surpassed 24 million users. Its growth stems from the several policy changes at X, including a heavily criticized change to the block feature. I don't know what that is. And allowing third-party companies to train their AI on users' posts, which helped the app soar to the top of the U.S. App Store. Blue Sky also saw a big boost following the results of the 2024 U.S. presidential election, which also contributed to an exodus. See how they did that? Of Taylor Swift fans that said enough with X, because Trump said he hates Taylor Swift. So Taylor Swift fans said, ta-ta Twitter. But while the number is promising, the network has a lot of catching up to do to compete with Threads. 275 million monthly active users. What? Threads has that many? Wow. That shocks me. So X has got 350 million, and Threads is less than 100 million behind at 275 million. Dang. Let's see. Blue Sky is a decentralized social app conceptualized by former Twitter CEO Jack Dorsey. Chewbacca did not contribute. And developed in parallel with Twitter. The social network has a Twitter-like user interface with algorithmic choice, a federated design, and community-specific moderation. That might mean to use something. Blue Sky is also an open source framework built in-house. Meaning, the AT protocol, meaning people outside of the company have transparency into how it is built and what is being developed. Dorsey introduced the Blue Sky project back in 2019 while he was still with Twitter. He was the CEO at the time. He said Twitter would be funding a small independent team of up to 5 open source architects, engineers, and designers charged with building a decentralized standard for social media, with the original goal that Twitter would adopt this standard itself. But that was before Elon Musk bought the platform, so Blue Sky is completely divorced from X. Dorsey is no longer on Blue Sky's board. He left in May of this year. And then I guess it's basically like Twitter. Who's on Blue Sky? We got Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Apparently she did really well on there. Mark Cuban. Guillermo del Toro. Weird Al Yankovic. Barbara Streisand. Organizations like Bloomberg, The Washington Post, and TechCrunch are on there, where I got this story from. People are on it like Mark Cuban. Did I say that already? Mark Cuban, Mark Cuban, Mark Cuban. If you say it 3 times, you win on Shark Tank. No. Apparently Shark Tank has not, has not been good. Not good. Mark Cuban admits that after pumping over how many millions? It really? Wow. So like 20 million bucks into 85 startups on 111 Shark Tank episodes. He is down across all those deals combined. 90% of startups eventually fail, says Rob Black. And finally, speaking of social media, this is the last thing we'll say about social media. Australia has banned kids under the age of 16 from using social media. Could that be done here? Could that be done in the U.S.? I have a feeling with our incoming president that would not be allowed, interestingly enough, because at one point he seemed to be against certain social media. He's still kind of against Facebook from what we know. Unless Mark Zuckerberg smoothed things over last Friday.
What was that all about?
I don't know. You suddenly had a guest that showed up. What did you do? What did they talk about? I don't have that in front of me. So Australia banned the kids 16 and under from using social media, the world's strictest legislation. That is for curbing media use, social media use. Companies could be fined up to $32 million. Underage users and their parents will face no penalties. So it's all going to be on the companies that, hey, you got someone using you that's under 16? Bam! You owe us $1 million. Fascinating. That's what's going on in the world today, everybody. I know. Lots of media stories in the podcast today. And are there too many podcasts? That seems to be the question. Because when I tell anybody that I meet, hey, I do a podcast, I get zero response. I get a collective snore. So the question is, are there too many podcasts?
Mike, how are you?
Thank you for asking. I guess somebody's interested. So there is a website called City AM, and they have an article called The Debate. And the question was, are there too many podcasts? The person on the yes side said, go outside and have a conversation instead. Podcasts majorly took off in the heat of the pandemic when we were locked up inside and unable to socialize as normal. Then this yes person says, thankfully, that's no longer the case. We can all meet up with our friends once more and stop listening to Stephen Bartlett tell us how perfect his life is. Our lives might not be perfect, but hey, at least they're real. Podcasts are not in and of themselves bad. This person here says, I listen to one or two myself, mainly educational ones. But the sheer number of podcasts, particularly on the news, football, sport.
What is the matter with you?
What is the matter with you? Sports in general, as well as wellness, is enough to make anyone want to feel like they've been hit by a tidal wave when they never wanted to get anywhere near a beach. Worse, these days podcasts are at least 1/4 advertisements. Not true of this podcast. No advertisements unless you listen to this on certain platforms. Will play a commercial at the beginning, but nothing in the middle. And I ain't making no money, so hey. Oh, and this person asked something funny. Why are they all for BetterHelp? That's that therapy app. Hey, my lovely lady friend's a therapist, so it's good news for her. But so this is, I'm going to scroll down to what the no person says. No. Who could possibly become the arbiter of pods?
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that.
You can't be the arbiter of pods? There's no such thing as too many podcasts, says the no person. It's all about providing choice and competition. And what gives anyone the right to put themselves forward as an arbiter of what podcasts should or should not be published? There will always be room for the blockbuster. The rest is type pods, alongside those which explore more niche interests that may attract only a handful of listeners. But those types of pods can be important to that small group. Producing a podcast isn't always about securing a large number of listeners or generating ad revenue. It can be about fandom, showing support, connecting people, and sharing new perspectives. They can be personal or professional. People and companies start podcasts to build reputations, show their expertise, win business. Which of these would be stopped? The danger in limiting podcasts is that the market simply becomes dominated by big communications brands and celebs. Right. Exactly. This is why when podcasting first came out, now it had been out for a while, but I discovered it in 2008, late 2008, when I was let go from a huge radio conglomerate corporation. And I said to myself, podcasts, why? Now people will have a chance to talk, give their perspective. Back then, the only time when you heard somebody do a talk radio show, it was either Rush Limbaugh, Sean Hannity, who I knew back in college, and like a few others. And that was it. It was all right-leaning, and that was it. And then podcasters came along, and now there's millions and millions and millions of podcasters. And I thought that was a great idea. The only problem was the algorithms used by a lot of the platforms that bring you podcasts. They only show you the ones that are making millions and millions and millions of dollars. They never show the independent ones.
Here's a wild stat I saw in the Financial Times yesterday that would be enshrined in the Niels Numbers Hall of Fame. After the Democrats' loss on Tuesday, Every governing party faced an election this year, all 10, from the UK to France to Japan to the United States, lost vote share. It's the first time this has ever happened, truly unprecedented. And while there are absolutely local factors at play, the one thing every country experienced over the past couple of years was inflation. So voters appear to have said, my life has gotten way more expensive. People in charge, you're fired.
Ah, said the Gen Zer. Thank you. Now, that guy is on a podcast called The Morning Brew, which has a lot of listeners and does get pushed to you if you're looking for a business podcast on a lot of the podcast platforms. My only problem with Gen Zers is they have a tendency to sound like they are reading everything that they are saying, and they have a weird cadence when they are doing their stories that you may have heard when that guy was talking. But anyway, so this is what was concerning me today as I was thinking about these kinds of things. Axios.com about a year ago said that podcasts have lost their edge. Podcasting has emerged out of years of rapid growth and a pandemic boom to face an identity crisis as its
There's the childish nicknames, the crazy conspiracy theories, this weird obsession with crowd sizes.
I don't know who he's talking about. You talking about me? I would love to have any kind of crowd size, but I'm not obsessed with it. Podcasts, it says, changed the listening habits of millions of people over the last decade, but the once groundbreaking format has settled into a more, I'm sounding like a Gen Zer, into a more precarious middle age. Fewer people are creating new shows. What? This was a year ago now, Axios said. Networks are having difficulties recouping investments. That's true. Spotify dumped a bunch of money on some sure things that turned out to not be sure things. And longtime podcasters are on the hunt for ways to keep their shows sustainable. I was talking about was it the last podcast, about how people, the whole business structure for podcasts is all weird. It can't survive. It can't live on because it's not sustainable, because they're dumping huge gobs of money on just a few podcasters that are already celebrities making gobs of money on their own projects, their TV shows, their movies, the other way past to celebrity. Maybe they're a big time football player, etc. So it just doesn't seem fair. It seems like some people, they get popular, but it's mostly on their looks. It's not really on their content. So this article in Axios that came out a year ago mentioned interesting things like individual shows and creators have swarmed to user-backed sites like Patreon. Podcasts represent the most profitable in terms of revenue per creator on Patreon, said a report from Prosperity for All. Podcasters received about 14% of all monthly payments, despite making up only 7% of Patreon creators. So maybe that is the way to go for you podcasters out there. Oh, interesting. It also mentioned, this is some of the crazy, huge, over the top, out of touch, bad business moves that Spotify made. Spotify had become something of a bellwether for all podcasting as it made giant deals to incorporate networks and quickly multiplied the number of shows on its platform. I'm on Spotify. You can find me there. Spotify recently, this was last year, laid off a number of workers in its podcast arm. It made cuts there last October, and last week laid off 6% of its staff. This happened a year ago, which included the departure of Chief Content and Advertising Business Officer Don Ostroff, who oversaw the growth of Spotify's podcasts and advertising businesses. It also canceled 11 original shows. So 80%, there was an 80% drop in new shows. Might have to do more with Spotify's widening role in the podcast universe, which is interesting. I don't know if that's still true, if that still holds a year later. But yeah, there was less people doing podcasts as of that publish article. Right, Madame Rootabega? Hello, Michael Masters, Madame Rootabega. Well, yes, thank you for saying my name correctly. Woo! Yes, I kind of blew it with your name, but do you like listening to podcasts? Yes. Do you like watching and reading Axios? Yes. Do you think videos are the same as podcasts? No. Yeah, that's a big thing. People are really confused, and that's not going to change anytime soon. People do a YouTube channel, and they're called podcasters. And somebody I work with said, yeah, but that's because people don't like the word vlog. It's too difficult to say. You can't put an L next to a V. It is impossible for your tongue to say the word vlog. It sounds like you're saying Vogue. What the heck's a Vogue? Is that a frog in Germany? Look, it's an interesting Vogue. It goes a ribbit. Michael Master, are you making fun of me? No. I can't do it like you. Look who else is here. Hello there, Mike. This is Valentino, the parking attendant. And this is Bison Bentley. Do you know that? Mike, we can't wait to listen to that phone call that you got there. Yeah, the phone call. Do you know that? And Nilly wants to hear it too. There. Yeah, Nilly the horse. Do you know that? All right, guys. Here's the phone call that I got.
Oh my God.
Email for email and your calm and not so calm mess.
I'm a big fan. I don't know who could use this or that, but well, let you know it's almost Christmas time. I hope you got something for your lovely lady friend, because she sure deserved it after all the stuff she's had to deal with you.
What?
Funny. Thanks for letting me call.
All right. There you go. Well, if you'd like to call in and make a similar, very undistinguishable, uninterpretable, undecipherable message, we would sure love to hear from you. Here's the phone number.
Call Mike at the Café Anyway hotline. Area code 510-228-4640.
And with all things having to do with Mike's Daily Podcast, we go to the mainframe and hear from A-Frame. She will tell you things that are important for you to know. And here they come at you right now, these things. Thanks for listening.
Mike's Daily Podcast is written and produced and performed by Mike Matthews. His podcast is super easy to find. Download or listen to his show and read his blog at mikesdailypodcast.com.
Email Mike now at mikesdailypodcast@gmail.com.
See you tomorrow. Bye.